Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 383 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we are going to do some weapons testing on the biters and show them what atomic energy is like. Enjoy. We are going to have to get a couple more of these setups and the required input ores, which you see are already getting kind of sucked into other processes. It's already a short ore here, and we need even more of it, and we're going to have to send 4 belts of it somehow up here. And we could use a huge amount of drones. It's not going to be that big of a distance, but we also could take the coward's way out and just do 4 belts coming up here. It's not that far away to do, I suppose, and logistically it's a lot easier than expecting drones to deliver that many resources, but it's not really appropriate for a train. I mean, we could do it, but the problem is we would need to get 4 belts onto the train to begin with. So it would be 4 belts of items coming down here, and I guess we can use this unused train station. And then what would the train do? Come up here, and then we would just have a belt doing this, or doing this. It's like it's almost the same, it's just coming up here. So we'll have a choice there. But I'm thinking, oh, and look at that, plutonium is running. And it is at 100% because it only ever runs at 100% because it turns on and off as an entire group. Almost universally because curium gets low, and we're actually using 26 gigawatts, so it's a little more than usual. And also, the thorium is running at 25%, so the thorium reactors are a little different. All these other reactors turn on and off in a group, or turn on and off just based on fuel being available to the individual reactors. However, thorium works as 4 groups, because we have 4 setups here if you include these 2 rows as one group, and then we have another 2 rows, another 2 rows, and then another 2 rows. And they work individually. So they slowly turn on at increments of 25%. So that is why we have 25% thorium output, and it goes bottom to up. So because we have more finesse there, it really helps not overheating the reactors. And of course, accumulators are always going to be perpetually full when we're running all these deuterium fuel cells, unfortunately. It's very difficult to have a factory that can consume 65 gigawatts and then have a power setup that can also provide like 10 gigawatts without maxing things out. But the solution to that is more accumulators, and look at that. We are getting to that point now, and Biter Island is getting in the way. So I think we are going to go biter hunting soon. But of course, more landfill means more accumulators, and it looks like there's some interesting placed items there. I wonder if the ghost got deleted or I did something weird. Uh-oh. Reactor overheated. That's kind of what I was wanting to look at here. But we have 3.3 terajoules of power, and it's just not enough yet. So I'm thinking, and I'm guessing, it's going to be one of these. Yeah, that one's definitely too hot. That one's too hot. That one's too hot. Alright, it's basically all of them. So maybe at this point we just need to set it to running on the gigawatt requirements instead of accumulator. And how would we want to do that? Well, when our power output is this low, clearly we can't have all these running. That maybe 20 gigawatts would require all reactors. So how about we do G is more than, well, essentially 0. So these are the always on reactors. And then these next ones will be more than 10, and then more than 20. And as we add more reactors, we'll probably have to keep changing this logic. But that'll turn a few of them off at least. We'll see if they continue to overheat. And for this to work, we do need to get the G signal in here, and it just needs to be on the same power wire as the A signal. So we have a signal receiver we can plop in here. Let's do an arithmetic combinator to steal the G signal so it doesn't pollute this wire with all of the signals. So since the G signal is red, we have to pull it on the red wire and then send it out on the green wire. And it looks like we're not actually putting the G on there. So yeah, it's being directly inserted onto circuit HUD, but it's not actually being placed on all of our signals. We do need to get the G signal down here. And I don't think it'll mess any of this up if we just pop it in. Well, here's where this silly combinator here might come in handy. because it doesn't appear like we need it. Because that can connect just fine. We still have G. But by putting it over here, we're getting rid of all of those junk signals and only putting the G signal on that wire. And we need to get it in here, but we also don't want to just throw another A signal in there, so this is very piecemeal in order to try to reuse this signal transmitter down here. But it's the same thing. G signal goes in, G signal goes out. We throw it in here, but now it's not taking the A. So if all of that is correct, we should be getting a G out of here. And we are. It's coming on this cable as a green signal, which means it is being considered for these, so we can check our work to see, are we getting a green square out of this? Nope. It is not receiving the G signal. The A signal is definitely coming in here, and it's because it's being pulled off with this. So more stuff to change. But if we do that, now the G's coming in. That's just to prevent the cables from mixing. However, this isn't even receiving the G signal at all, so one of the wires got broken when this was set up, and I can see the green wire stops there. So I believe we have found our issue, that the green wire needs to continue and follow the red one. And there it is. Let's do the same thing. So let's check it. Do we have our G input? We do. It's getting the green square because it's over 10 gigawatts. However, this side is getting the G signal, but it's not giving a green square because it is below 20 gigawatts. So we'll have to play with those numbers to see how that works, but at least for now, it's hooked up. And we are very close to finishing up our research here, which is great. So now the deuterium is down to 33% power output. And does that make sense? Well, yes, because the reactors are plenty hot to make the power that we need. The fuel has a delay on getting inserted just because it's technically not required. And that does give a tiny window to where the logic can change, like the G signal, for example, to give it a chance to not be needed. Because if you immediately put the fuel in the second you can, then it doesn't really give you much flexibility. It's just looking at that exact moment in time on whether or not it should get fuel, rather than an average over a period of at least a few seconds. That's got to be better. An average over a few seconds has to be better than an instant. But luckily that research completed, and looking at our rockets, it is of course quite silent. Looking at our progress, we completed all of those habitation modules. So most of these are actually relatively easily built, at least within the time frame of how fast we can research them. But now we are starting research on the part that will take forever, because it's going to need all those biter orbs. But this is also the one that needs the military science. So now you can see instantly we are producing military science to the best of our abilities here. And why isn't that one even running at all? No inserter. Okay. Neither of them have it. But doing this is also quite limited on input resources, so it'll only go so fast. Nonetheless, it does put out, believe it or not, 24 science packs a second, so it's no slouch. So, as limited as it might be, the limiting factor is still going to be the gold science, so it will hold up just fine. However, we have yet another part to launch. This time, it needs to be life support, which is just a bunch of random stuff. It's going to require some modules, but nothing in this is particularly difficult. Let's make sure it's on our list of parts. And it is, because we're running out of parts on our list. In fact, we only have 6 left to send up, and one of those is the FTL drive. Once we launch another part, this list will be fine, which means we never had to mess with it, which is great. So we need some life support parts, and there's nothing special about this. It's done exactly the same as everything else. Not exactly sure what that icon is. It looks like... well, there's a lot of tubes and hoses. It looks very alien. Of course, it's just a pixelated little icon, but it looks very strange. And it's a lot, so it takes a moment, but it gets what it needs, and it's being produced. Well, we barely saw it. It was a blink, but he got it. And he put it in the rocket. And of course, it's leaving the planet. So doing good. Let's go back to our science plan here. Backing out gives us an idea of the actual raw logistics here, because we would have to multiply this by 4 to get the real number. So we would need 60 steel ingots a second somehow. That would be the big one. That and of course the 250-ish tungsten powder. But we will find those limits once we actually build this and put it into place, because it's going to be able to make science much faster than we're doing it now. However, robots finished their job again, and now Biter Island is in the way of progress. And this would be an excellent opportunity to do some weapons testing. Our character is very powerful, so we're not really limited on this stuff anymore. But it would be cool to show off the weapons. We definitely don't need the sniper rifle. The submachine gun remains useful just because it fires so fast and many biters die in one hit, so just having it is pretty much perpetually always useful. How about let's try out a flamethrower? Let's make one of those. And how about a rocket launcher, which requires wood? So handcrafting this is going to be a little annoying, but we actually have to acquire some trees. It's very fast. This shows you how fast the mining time is now, where it's essentially almost instant. So there we go. Flamethrower ammo is just fuel, oil, and naphtha, and some steel. We're going to use very little of this stuff, so as far as logistics are concerned, we don't really need to worry about it. So where would be the easy way to do it? Well, probably down here, because we have steel, and we have both of those fuels. And of course, we'll make a request for some. And we can make some rockets while we're at it. There's lots of different kinds of rockets you can make, but probably the most useful would just be the explosive one, because kind of the point of making rockets is that they explode and do a lot of damage. So having a big area of effect makes the most sense. And they are kind of complicated to make. A lot of steps go into this. Although the explosive rocket does require alien fluid, and I'd rather not add that, but it might be interesting to see. However, making this is kind of annoying and requires a lot of stuff, so we'll probably just have to deliver this by robot. The main limiting factor here is probably the liquid fuel, so let's make it somewhere where that would be available. And believe it or not, the easiest way to get it is just to use it from one of these drone depots. It also so happens to be near where our orbs are, which is going to go into this. And let's set a limit to 200, and I now realize I didn't set a limit on the other one. So we now have many thousands of flamethrower ammo ready to be tested on the biters. We won't need it, but oh well. It's not a problem. So there we go, making the rockets, and the requests are coming in. Okay, fully loaded on ammo. So let's go down there and test it, and we can actually just teleport straight onto Biter Island and see what they do to us. First, let's test our armor by not attacking. Do you feel anything? I don't feel anything. Could do this all day. Alright, let's test the machine gun then. See, it instantly kills them, but because there's so many biters right here, they basically just keep coming back. But you can see it right here where we just instantly annihilate them. Or if we attack, like the biter nest, it's gone. So its single target DPS is quite high. But we need some AoE. Let's try some flamethrower. Oh, the lag. The lag. That's because it instantly killed them. So many orbs. So, that was pretty good. What about these rockets? Let's aim for over there. Oh wow, almost killed him in one hit. And there's like no explosion graphic. That's somewhat anticlimactic, but... no explosion noise, but you can see the damage it does based on how much it does to our shield if I fire it in close range. Like, it definitely actually hurts the shield, so our own weapons do more damage than the biters. So that's kind of nuts. However, there is something else we can test, because currently, these are the rockets that you use boom juice in, but what if we make a rocket with boom rocks? We could use uranium-235, plutonium-239, or a muon catalyst, but those catalysts are kind of rare and we really would rather have them, and we're not actively storing uranium in any way. So in this case, it's plutonium-239, and they are expensive, requires 30 pieces of this, and a lot of random stuff that goes into it, but it's not very difficult to make. And how about we just make them right here, because it fits the theme of this area. And interestingly, it's a completely different recipe than those other rockets. I guess technically because it's a bomb. So it doesn't need rocket parts. And this is actually made in an advanced chemical plant. Actually, since we're here, one other thing I want to do, hopefully I wouldn't regret it, I'm thinking about in the future that when this series is over, there will be people on YouTube who find this series, and I need to think, how am I going to sell this series to them? Because I'm thinking probably the #1 question most people have when they find a new series like this, at least a long playthrough, whether it be edited or not, their primary concern is, when does this guy give up on this and do something else? Because everyone gives up on their YouTube playthroughs. I think this series has gone on long enough where anyone that's still watching is convinced it will end, especially with how close we actually are. But I know that that is a concern, and it's something I've done, where I see a new series. The first thing I do, click on their channel and search, what's the last episode of this series? So I can sell this as a complete series to hopefully save themselves that worry, and they'll know that the entire series will be here and they won't waste their time when it just randomly ends disappointingly. But also, I need to think of, how am I gonna advertise it? It's edited. That's probably the biggest difference to most Factorio playthroughs, is that it's not just a straight let's play, but it is kind of a let's play, but it's been edited to where it's way shorter. And I'm not sure exactly how many hours of content this series has been. Well, I guess I could check. It's actually not that difficult to check. So hold on a second here. Alright, it took my computer a second to calculate that, but up until episode 378, it's about 178 hours of content, and that's kind of nuts to think about that I actually edited all of that. But 178 is a heck of a lot less than 717. So I'd like to think of it as I just saved you 550 hours of your life by editing all the slow stuff out. And I think that's the major draw of this series, is that it's just hopefully at a sufficient pace where you feel entertained and you don't feel like you want things to go a little faster. So that's kind of what my goal is, but that alone might not be a selling point. So what's the other major element of this factory that's different than what you normally see? And it's probably my absolute refusal to use beacons for anything, no matter the cost to the computer. Of course, we're standing next to some beacons, but specifically this setup was built just to show what I would do with beacons if I use them, and to show how to calculate it in Hellmod. So it was more for the viewers who asked for it than something I would have done. But advertising it to a new viewer to say that this is a beaconless factory is accurate, and that's not something people see, and it's something that they might enjoy to see, and it contributes to why it's so big. It's because it has to be. So compared to other mega bases, because it's beaconless, the things that are bigger are of course power generation, because it has to generate way more power, and also the builds themselves, like consuming our science. The things that are smaller in relation to those factories are things like our logistics, like the trains and the buses, because when you actually look at the train setup here, it's really not that complicated. It's not a huge network of rails everywhere. A major reason for that is that there's just no beacons. So when you have a lot of beacons, the difficulty is getting a lot of resources in a tiny space. So your logistics system tends to be huge, but the production side is actually quite small. So since my factory doesn't use beacons, the production side is huge, while the logistics side is very small. So I think that makes it quite interesting as well. But I can't really call it a beaconless factory when it's got beacons in it. So hopefully it doesn't break stuff, but I would like to remove this. It has played its part just to show what I would do, but now its time has passed us. So we just need to yank it out. And all of these bits should find their way to where they're needed. And let's leave the rest of this kind of the same, because we still need to generate plutonium. Wow, there was 3.3k of plutonium just sitting on all of this? Wow. What an amazing buffer, considering there were no actual buffer chests of any kind. That's just because the machines were so fast, they just held an ungodly amount of plutonium in them. But let's just place this here. All it does is the bobbing about or Cravorix process, where you turn uranium into plutonium. And this is the most efficient way to do it. So we can just throw some speed modules in there. And I probably should have checked that build as a whole before removing it. I think it was around 20 plutonium a second of actual production, something like that, like an obscene number. And just this one machine is only 0.6, but I have the feeling it is going to be more than enough. This machine still has an incredible speed of input and outputs. It essentially needs about 30 items a second, so because of this, we probably just want to put 3 inserters in here. And it still goes, even without those beacons. It's quite fast. And the simple way to do this is just to have an input on the other side with these same inserters, but they'll probably be limited by the fact that some of them will be near and some of them will be far. And it seems like it's going pretty good here. We'll expand this if we need to. But as you can see, by the fact that plutonium isn't just going everywhere right now, that we just don't need it very fast, especially because we have launched all of the satellites for our space science, that making those RTGs that went into the satellites was the primary consumer of plutonium. And now that plutonium only runs for making curium and not for making regular power, we just don't need very much of it anymore, so it's possible that just this few thousand of plutonium will basically last us for the rest of the game. But there, now I can say it's a beaconless factory. We never needed it. It barely ever ran, both now and then. So that seems good. It's time to make our bomb. It's a chemical plant, but it doesn't actually require any liquid ingredients. And it makes them very slow, so having the speed modules is the most appropriate item. I doubt we're going to need very many of these. But let's do a requester chest in here and ask for, like, I don't know, 200 of each thing. That's a lot of rocket control units, but whatever, they're easy to make, and explosives are not delivered by robot, which is important to know. But we'll put a long-handed in here just to get that plutonium. The explosives are being stored down here, so that should give us everything we need. However, one other interesting thing that would be cool to try out, since we are doing weapon testing here, is what about if we tried to make some of those plasma ammos? Now, its direct damage is significantly smaller than uranium. That is around 50 per shot. However, this one is area of effect, which might be interesting to see. Hopefully it actually makes an explosion, unlike our rockets. To make it, it's very similar to everything else. The only difference is that the projectile includes every single alien artifact type plus deuterium. And conveniently, deuterium is being delivered by robots, so we could use it in that way, but it probably makes more sense to just make these locally next to where deuterium is being stored, because it's just easy. Let's make a request for some atomic bombs. I can't imagine we would need very many of them, especially because of how likely we could have an accident, so to say. But let's just ask for the stack of them and go from there. So with that, this thing is running. Let's just make 10 rockets, and there they are. Soon to be delivered to our inventory. Interestingly, this requires deuterium and not deuterium gas, so I'm not sure what the difference would be. That might be an issue in here. Maybe we won't see these after all, because that is not a resource that we can make. But it kind of sucks to go through all of this, see all this get connected, and yet see nothing on the other side. So after getting you excited, I think we should acquire these magazines. And we can do that with a command here, where the name of the item is the plasma bullet magazine, and this will give us 200 of them. Maybe this will be fixed in the future, so this will start actually making the ammo again, but for now, this is good enough. And there it is. It's not like we're going to be using a lot of this, so it's not too important. Let's throw the atomic bombs in there. So I think we are mostly ready. One other thing that would be nice to test. Oh, we also need to upgrade our jetpack too. So we should probably do that. But what I was thinking about was the personal laser defense. And to actually make this is going to require a lot of steps. So that's kind of annoying, but it is a 1-to-1 ratio as far as making them. So it's going to take a little bit of work, but we have the slots for it, so why not make them? Also, one thing I've thought of since I walked by the trees, when we were launching rockets aggressively, we were actually short on wood. So I built a lot of tree farms. Where everywhere where there was a road and some places where there weren't. Farm, 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 farm. All the way down to the end with some gaps to help absorb pollution. And believe it or not, it has helped that crazy pollution cloud is being contained, at least a little bit. So it's just a question of, do you have enough arboretums? And how many is enough? Well, currently we have 44 groups of 4 arboretums, so we have a lot of them. Okay, we're starting to make our laser defenses, so let's just grab 4 of them. Well, they're already made because we had so many in a buffer. Even having one at a time creates a lot in here, but oh well, we made them. So there's our jetpacks, and we now fly again with our rocket fuel as a speed booster. And how fast is it? Oh, that's pretty fast. Feels faster than before. But we actually don't even really fly very much anymore. Our main method of transport is teleporting. So let's go back to Biter Island. That's a lot quieter than it used to be. Let's try out these plasma bullets. Well, there's no giant explosion, but you can definitely see it area affects them pretty hard. Wow. Instantly deleted them. Oh yeah, it's pretty good. Wow. They don't even know what's hitting them. Well, now that we've done that, let's teleport away again. Because we have some laser defense. So if you ever get tired of holding spacebar, you don't even need to hold spacebar if you have laser defense. So we're jumping back in. You do actually have to get close enough to zap him, but man is it fast. Let's go in there. We actually have to be careful here. We're running out of biters to experiment on because we have one last test. It's pretty good. Of course, now there's tons of biter orbs everywhere. I guess I can just do the entire planner on this island. Get them all marked immediately, which will make this process a lot faster. It's actually a pretty good test for the bots, really. Oh, there's still some left. I was about to shoot the nuke at them, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. We have robots here. We don't want any friendly fire incidents. Well, that's that. Biter Island is now a lonely place. And soon, it will no longer even be an island. Or even have any trees. It does have some oil in it though, which is interesting. We have tested our armor. It seems to be pretty good, but we have other places we can see. Do we go out there and test it? and see how all our stuff works? I'm thinking yes. That ought to be interesting, even without doing anything. The laser defense is going to do a lot of work. And the lag. Oh, the lag. What is even happening? I don't even know. It's just lag and explosions. Well, we can help this with even more lag and more explosions. This plasma ammo is pretty good. There we go. We've cleared it out. Kind of. They're actually attacking us faster than the laser defense can make up for. Of course, we have something else that kills spiders pretty fast. I kind of wish there were some special graphics for using these plasma bullets. They are very good. You almost feel sorry for the biters. They're trying so hard, but they're capable of so little. Gotta be careful not to get too close to these. Our armor's good, but it's not survive atomic bomb levels of good. I don't even know if that's possible. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if it was, if you completely filled yourself up with shields. But I don't want to test that. So we just knocked the biter evolution up a little bit. Also, created many, many orbs. Wow. These orbs are worth collecting. So, nukes are pretty good. But let's not have them on our weapons list. Same with the plasma ammo. Because if we accidentally press spacebar, things are going to be very bad. Wow. So much here. For so little fighting. At least the bots are faster than the engineer is. So I don't have to slow down and let them catch up. That they just charge and keep doing their thing. And getting damaged in the process. There's so many biters here. They are not happy. So yeah, that is what endgame combat looks like for Angel Bots. You are a literal god. Just the rockets themselves are insane. But it's a little weird when they don't make the explosion noises. Wow. What is that? I don't even know. Well, he died so fast I couldn't see, but there's some special type of biters in there. Not that it matters. Wow, the uranium ammo is both very strong and hilariously weak in comparison to our other weapon choices now. And we are full on inventory. There's nothing else we can do here. Goodbye, biters. Aw, they're just waiting and sad. Let's put an active provider here. That should help everything get picked up. Let's get away from that. And just like that. Oh, there's a little spot right there. Biter Island is no more. And the more accumulators, the better, especially when our factory is in a low power state. The accumulators are quite useful then. Factorio does have an amazing sense of progression when it comes to your weapons. In the sense that in the beginning, you are rather weak. And then by the end of the game, you're essentially a god. It's pretty good. Pretty good game design there. And the next step is to implement our gold science plan here. But that's going to have to wait until the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later.